Most of the time, the person judging you the harshest isn't in the room. It's your own brain. In the next few minutes, you'll discover why your mind constantly tells you that others are criticizing you, even when they're not, and how this silent lie shapes your anxiety, your confidence, and the way you see yourself. Once you understand what's really happening, those thoughts lose their grip.
Well, hello there. Let's have a little chat, shall we? It's about that little voice in your head, the one that's a bit of a drama queen. You know the one. It tells you stories about what everyone else is thinking about you. You walk into a room and it whispers, "Oh, they all think that jumper is a bit much." You say something in a meeting and it screams, "That was the stupidest thing anyone has ever said." The truth is, that little voice is often a terrible liar. These stories feel so real, but they're usually just stories. They are not based on facts, not really. These made-up tales can cause a lot of unnecessary trouble. They can make you feel terribly anxious for no good reason. It's like carrying a heavy bag of worries that isn't even yours. Right then, let's meet our first little troublemaker, the mind-reading error. This is when you behave as if you have a crystal ball that tells you exactly what's going on in someone else's head. The funny thing is, this crystal ball seems to only show you bad news. You assume you know what others are thinking, and it's almost always something negative about you. You do this without a shred of actual evidence. It's pure fiction. A script you've written for someone else without asking them if they'd like the part. It's a very common habit, so don't feel bad. Let me give you a quick example. Imagine you've just given a presentation at work. It was only 5 minutes long, but to you, it felt like an eternity. You stumbled over one word and forgot one tiny point. Afterwards, your mind-reading gremlin gets to work. Everyone thought that was a disaster. They saw every single mistake. They think you're incompetent. You feel a hot flush of shame and avoid eye contact the rest of the day. You are certain they're all judging you harshly. But what's the reality? Most people probably didn't even notice the stumble. They were likely thinking about their own to-do lists, what they're having for lunch, or worrying about their own upcoming presentation. Our minds filter out what isn't directly relevant to us. Your tiny mistake was probably just a blip on their radar, if it registered at all. They weren't forensic investigators picking apart your every word. This happens because our brains crave certainty. When we lack clear information, the brain fills the gaps, often with the worst-case scenario. It's a protective mechanism gone haywire. It thinks it's helping by preparing you for rejection, but really, it creates needless fear and makes you feel isolated when you're likely not being judged at all. Now for our second gremlin, a very theatrical one called the spotlight effect. This is the feeling that a giant, glaring spotlight is following you around, highlighting your every move, and especially your every mistake for all the world to see. When you do something you think is embarrassing, you feel as if every single eye in the room is on you. You're at a party, having a nice time, and you accidentally spill a bit of red wine on the cream-colored carpet. Oh, the horror. The spotlight clicks on. Your face goes red. You are absolutely convinced that everyone saw it, that they are all whispering about how clumsy you are. You think this single moment will be forever etched in their memories. You'll be known as the one who spilled the wine. You might want the ground to swallow you whole just to escape the glare of that imaginary spotlight. The funny thing is, just like with mind reading, the reality is far less dramatic. In truth, most people probably didn't even see it happen. Those who did see it likely forgot about it within minutes, moving on to the next conversation, the next canapé. People are generally wrapped up in their own little worlds, their own conversations, their own anxieties. That embarrassing moment that feels so huge and significant to you is, to everyone else, just a minor background event. We are simply not the center of everyone else's universe as much as our brains lead us to believe. This happens because we experience the world from our own perspective. We are the main character in our own life story, so we naturally assume we play a big role in everyone else's story too. We know all about our own inner turmoil, our own self-criticism, our own embarrassing moments. We can't imagine that others aren't as acutely aware of them as we are. It's a simple mix-up of perspective. We forget that everyone else is also the star of their own show, and frankly, they're more concerned with their own performance than with ours. When you remember that, the imaginary spotlight begins to dim. And now, for our final gremlin, the grumpiest of the lot, the negativity bias. This little fellow is like a bouncer for your brain, but he only pays attention to the bad stuff. Your brain is naturally programmed to give more weight and attention to negative experiences, criticisms, potential threats, than to positive ones. It's like your mind is covered in Velcro for bad experiences and Teflon for good ones. The bad things stick, the good things just slide right off. This bias makes you expect the worst and remember the insults far more clearly than the compliments. Let's paint a picture. Say you're at a gathering and you chat with 6 different people. 5 of them are absolutely lovely. They smile, they laugh at your jokes, they seem genuinely interested in what you have to say. But one person seems a bit distracted and gives you a slight frown when you're talking. When you go home that night, what do you fixate on? That one frown, of course. You replay that single interaction over and over, completely ignoring the 5 positive ones. You wonder, what did I say wrong? Do they not like me? The 5 smiles are forgotten and the one frown becomes everything. So why on earth would our brains be built this way? It all goes back to our ancestors, bless them. For early humans living in a dangerous world, this bias was a brilliant survival tool. It was far more important to notice and remember the one rustle in the bushes that might be a hungry, saber-toothed tiger than it was to remember the 5 pretty flowers you saw that day. Forgetting the flowers had no consequence, but forgetting the tiger could be, well, fatal. Your brain is still running this ancient, better safe than sorry software. The problem is that this old software isn't always helpful in our modern, much safer world. The tigers we face today are more likely to be a critical email, a funny look from a stranger, or a perceived social snub. Our brain reacts to these social threats with the same high alert status it once reserved for life or death situations. This is why a small negative event can feel so disproportionately large and overwhelming. All right, we've met the gremlins. Now, how do we politely ask them to leave? It's not about fighting them, it's about gently guiding your mind in a new direction. Here are 3 simple steps you can start using. Check the facts. When that little voice starts telling you a negative story, pause and ask for proof. Treat it like a courtroom. Where's the evidence? Did anyone actually say those words you fear? Did they truly frown? Or were they just squinting at the light? Look for concrete, observable facts, not your own interpretations or feelings. If you can't find any real proof, label the story a guess. Test the idea. Become a little scientist and run a small experiment to gather real data. For example, if you worry asking a question in a group chat will make you look silly, just try it. Ask a simple, low-stakes question and observe what actually happens. More often than not, people answer helpfully, or they don't react at all. The world doesn't end. These small tests provide your brain with real-world evidence that's kinder than the scary stories it invents. Each small test slowly rewrites the old fearful narrative. Shift your focus. When you feel that imaginary spotlight on you, consciously turn your attention outwards. Instead of worrying about how you are coming across, get curious about someone else. Ask them a question about their day. Ask them about their hobbies. Ask their opinion on something. Listen, really listen to their answer. 2 things happen. First, you take the pressure off yourself, which instantly reduces anxiety. And second, you connect with another human being, often the best antidote to feeling judged and alone. So there you have it. Check the facts, test the idea, shift your focus. Change won't happen overnight. Your brain loves its old habits and the gremlins will pop up again. That's perfectly normal. Just be patient with yourself. Each time you challenge a thought, you weaken its power. Each time you test a fear, you build your confidence. And each time you focus on others, you shrink that fake spotlight. I challenge you to try just one of these steps today. Pick one small fear and check the facts. Send one short message to test an idea. Ask one person a question. Small actions build up to big changes, leading to a calmer mind and a freer you. Go on, give it a go.